So, engine-wise, what have we got here?
It's a standard BMW M44, which is a 1900cc twin cam, and it's the induction's been changed because it is a bit more restrictive, the standard one. So it sounds a bit better and it goes a bit better.
So, with the throttle bodies?
With the throttle bodies, yeah. But apart from that, it's all standard. It's not the original engine that came with this car. This is out of a later model car, so it's a more modern engine, and they're quite easy to come by. So and they don't tend to go wrong as well.
The 328.
The one that was in here was a 325 originally, but then it had a Cosworth, normally aspirated Cosworth in it. So it's been through the engines, but not because the engines break. But I like to put a BMW engine in a BMW car as well.
Yeah.
So I find it's. And it's easier for me because I'm BMW, so I've got gearboxes and bits and pieces.
Yeah, all the spares are there.
Yeah, this car came about from bits and pieces really. It was all what I had was used to build it up.
Yeah. So it's standard, same gearbox?
Yeah, it's
the
just,
engine,
the gearbox is, I was actually given that engine about 5 years ago. Someone did a conversion on their car, so they gave me that engine. It was sitting under a bench for 5 years, but the gearbox was one that was in my garage, which is out of I think it's out of a BMW Compact, so they're very easy to get hold of as well. And I didn't know what would fit where, but when I offered it all up, everything seemed to slot into place, and it was quite easy conversion to do really. But the sump was on the wrong end of the engine. I had to change that and put a different sump on it.
That's what I'm saying. So this one has the E30 sump on it, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah. So you can get the E30 sump off a normal 8-valve engine, which they're not as easy as they used to be to get hold of, but you can still get them, and it just fits straight on. So it just means that the main part of the sump is at the front of the engine, whereas on the other car it's at the back. So I had to move the dipstick. The dipstick was at the back, so that's at the front now.
With the airbox, obviously, because it didn't have the Cosworth engine in, you've had to cut out everything, rearrange the shape of it to fit around the brake servo. Yeah,
when I bought the car, it had a pedal box inside, so it didn't have a servo, so there was a lot more space in the engine bay, and of course it had a different engine in. So I originally had this engine in my other car which didn't have a servo, so the airbox fitted straight in, but with the servo, I put a smaller servo on it, but still there wasn't enough space, so I had to cut the airbox. But the airbox, that's just thin steel that I bent and sealed, because it still runs the air, because it's got the standard ECU. It's got an airflow meter, yeah, so I've got to keep that. So I had to have a sealed airbox. But it was, I mean, these induction tubes are exhaust pipes, they're bits of exhaust, and it's got egg cup holders welded to the end. It's been done on a budget, so it's all what I had.
It's easily done for the right person that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So for starters, we've got not your usual dashboard.
No, when I got the car, he'd changed the dash, and but I did get a normal standard dash with it, and when I put it in, absolutely nothing worked. So to get another dash, these cars are getting older, so the parts are getting more expensive, and it was getting silly, the cost for a replacement dash, and it's still going to be 40 years old.
Yeah.
So I basically got the instruments, and this is like plastic.
Homemade.
Carbon fibre panelling.
Cheap budgeting rallying, which is ideal for what you want.
Yeah, this is like £5 a sheet for the dash, and it's you just take your time. Switches are nothing, you know, they're all cheap, and I probably put too many in, but and the gauges, most of them work. Yeah. I just got the fuel gauge to get sorted out now, but everything else is working.
So with the fuses and everything, these are all linked to specific things. So you're going to hazard a guess as to what they're useful for, or?
Well, I just worked my way through them. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are for like the
navigator's light.
But I've gone for the pop-out fuses. So if I do get a problem, the fuse pops out. At least you can see which fuse has gone. But hopefully,
again, that's the same principle as well. Where you can get the glow and the dot, or the glow when they blow up, the fuses.
Yes, yeah. So you know which ones have gone.
I think they're a bit more expensive.
Yeah, but I like these, and you just push them back in. So because of the nature of it, I haven't had anything pop, but you never know because you can always. It's bumpy down the quarry, so you can get wires chafing or whatever. But I try and keep it as simple as possible. But the more stuff you put on, the more cabling and wiring you get. So you try and keep it all tidy, but it's all.
Just try and keep it budget and basic rallying, really.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you can, like the steering, it's all Corsa C column. That was already on it when I got it, and it's got a Subaru Impreza steering rack. But all those things aren't expensive to do if you do the work yourself. I think the power steering column's £30 off eBay, but it's quite a bit of work to do it. But after that, you get, if you wanted to buy one that was purpose made for this, you'd spend hundreds on it. So you can do it cheap on a budget, but you could use the standard rack as well. It's just, this makes life a lot easier.
So after looking at some of your YouTube videos, I'm pretty sure there's a section on the steering column and the steering rack. And if I'm right in saying the steering rack's from a Subaru Impreza.
Yeah, well, on this car it is. On my other car, I did the electric steering column and a BMW rack, but this is off a Subaru Impreza, and it was a hydraulic rack, but it's all been converted. Yeah, Wayne did that. And, I did do the same on the E36 Compact that I built. I used a Subaru rack that Wayne made the brackets to hold it. So I have done all this, but fortunately, and it is time consuming, but fortunately this was already done. So, but it's time. It's not money. It's not expensive to do. It's just the time you put into it.
You do your own YouTube channel, so you document everything that you do, pretty much.
Is that Jersey Tim 100 you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like. I do tend to video everything I do. Too much probably, but it's handy.
An easy memory log.
Yeah, it is, because it's like a photo album. I can go back to it, and I'm getting quite a few people getting back to me saying it's helped them out when they're building their car and different things.
Your comment section's quite active within the BMW community.
Yeah, and people
for your knowledge of what you've done.
And also, I'll try different things, and some things work and some things don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time on stuff that just didn't, it was a waste of time doing it. But I'll give it a go and try something. But you've always got the internet where people tell you things that aren't quite right. I try and do stuff, do a video of it, and then show the car running afterwards, so you can see it does work, or you can make your mind up.
Sometimes you use photos of what you've put in or moved or changed, and then sometimes it'll be videos and walking through explaining what you've done. It's like with your gearbox or your gear stick setup here. Previously it had a Quave 60G gearbox in
15G,
15 dog box,
yeah, and the gear stick was further forward. That's why it's got the aluminium plate, So the standard one came further back. But it's very difficult sometimes when you're doing the work to video it all as well.
You obviously didn't start off with E30s when you started rallying.
No, I started with a Peugeot 205, which was at the time you could pick them up for £150. So they were cheap cars. Spares were good, but they got more and more scarce, and they were so thin. I was so worried about crashing them because I thought you were going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, they're a bit.
Yeah, and I've always been rear-wheel drive. I did karting for a long time, so I've always preferred rear-wheel drive. So I bought the Peugeot, did that for a bit. I mean, they were good, capable cars, and it was great on the dirt. Even for a standard car, they really handled well and went well. And it probably would be faster than this car.
And then you went on to Subaru Impreza, is that right?
Subaru Impreza, yeah. I did that for about a year, I think. Terry Barrett let me borrow it for the rally, and it was just so easy to drive, which is what I loved about it.
It's the simplicity.
Yeah, but that's what put me off it as well. And it didn't rev. 5.2 was its rev limit, where I like an engine where you can really scream it. Yeah.
When we entered the BMW phase.
Yeah.
The compact.
I actually had an E30, and I was going to turn it into a rally car, and a compact came up.
Right.
I can't believe I swapped an E30 and money to get the compact, because it's all gone the other way now. And I actually prefer rallying the E30, but the compact, it was a more modern car. It was bigger and stronger, but also heavier. So I had it as a daily. I used it for all sorts, and bought a cage and started putting it together while I still had the Subaru. So once the Subaru went, it was all standard engine. I put throttle bodies on it, but it wasn't very fast. But that was how I started with the compact. Then Andy.
Then Andy at Trigley Engineering.
He built the engine.
Engine for you.
And gave it a lot more power, because I was running standard suspension, standard gearbox, everything was standard.
Yeah.
So when he built the engine, we put that in. Well, I did a 328 engine, a 2.8 litre engine. I did that for a bit, which was a very good engine, but they're a bit heavy because it's 6-cylinder and you've got more weight further forward. So Andy built the, it was an 1800 engine, and he built it into just under a 2.1, and it had the throttle bodies on, and we had a lot more power out of it. So then I changed the suspension and just put more. I sort of built the car up over time and put more and more into it.
Period. That was one of the lesser budget cars, if you like, that you've owned.
Yes.
Car. We did a few events together on the auto solos.
Yeah, we had the odd crash, didn't we?
Had a few mishaps, but
it was a good. It was a good car. I like that car. It was. I had a lot of good fun. I did a lot of rallies in it as well.
Unfortunately, that's the fundamentals of motorsport.
Yes.
You've got to expect it at some point.
Yeah, you've got to be able to afford to lose the car and think that, you know, try. But you're not going to lose the whole car unless it catches fire. You'll do damage, but you'll be able to salvage a lot from it.
And throughout the process of building that, well, it started off as a silver one and then you did a colour change to white.
Yes.
Throughout the process of building that, you got hold of another compact that you started building.
Yeah.
That was the roll cage you built yourself. Sort of.
Yeah, I got offered a compact for £50, all running and everything there, and it was in really good condition.
Yeah.
So I ordered the steel from, because the blue book shows you all the regulations of what you have to do to make a roll cage. So as long as you follow the guidelines and do the right size material,
the right thicknesses of materials.
Yeah, and the joints are all in the right places, and so I had it all bent for me in the UK, and welded it in myself, and that was another budget price car. It was because I had bits and pieces. So, but that's the one I put the Subaru rack on, because I had a rack.
Yeah, the rack
or it was £30, or and then the steering column was the same, so I did that. That was cheap as well.
That's a car that I've navigated in a few times now.
Yeah, and it's a good car. I mean, Brendan owns it now, and he's had it 3 years, and he's not touched it at all, and it still keeps going.
It still keeps going. Well, other than the fact that we had a little problem with the engine when we went to Bovington. It's a bit of a disappointing trip, but
I think that was more driver related than engine related. Yeah.
And with back to this then, intercoms wise, it's standard in every rally car at the moment. Otherwise, you can't hear each other. With running this, you're running obviously a pelter due to your helmets.
Yeah, that actually was in the car when I bought the car. This is from the roof vent because it's freezing.
Yeah.
I put tissue in it.
So, vents,
yeah. Yeah. The pelter came with the car. That's one with a battery in it. So the pelter seems to be.
They work
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my other one has got navigator and driver's volumes which I find better. But yeah, they're tried and tested. As long as you don't leave it on, because then the battery goes flat.
Yeah. But and obviously it's run all the way via cable around the top of the roll cage and then drops down behind you.
Yeah.
To the back of the seat and plugs in.
Yeah, they're hooked onto the seat belts, the harnesses.
Strap
yeah, so you know where they are.
Peter, he's navigated for you in the recent years. He's sat in the car with you for a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, there's only 2 rallies I think that he hasn't sat with me, and that was the first one I did. Lee Dare sat with me, and then he was on holiday once, so Calla tough navigated for me.
It's good within the local community that you've got a solid navigator that will sit with you happily every event that you do.
I trust Peter. He's very good, so I know when he tells me what's coming up, I know it's going to be right.
The trust. You have to trust your navigator.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to have a dynamic duo, if you like. It's the easiest way to call it.
If I had someone else jump in the car, I wouldn't fully commit because I wouldn't trust what they were telling me, because I wouldn't know if they know what they're doing. Yeah. And some people don't have navigators. They don't listen to navigators. The navigator just sits there and does the timing.
You're all strapped in. You've got your 6-point harnesses, which you've got the TRS ones here. They've definitely adapted over time. When I first started rallying, I think the seatbelts weren't as good as they are now, with the fact that the hands device, they're thinner for the hands device on the top.
Yeah, it's definitely getting more safe, but it's getting more expensive as well.
Yeah, that's the issue with.
But these seats and harnesses are out of my other car. Rather than buying 2 sets of seats and 2 sets of harnesses, and the camera and everything, I just swap them over. It just so happens I had a spare this came with the car, so otherwise I would have swapped that over.
But these seats, they're motor drive ones, they're quite comfortable. They're not.
Yeah, they're lovely.
They definitely hug you in. You can feel that, but again, I don't think they're too expensive.
No, they were with the car when I got it, so I think they're about to run out. The date's about to run out, so I will look into getting another set of these because I do like them.
I don't know when these aren't valid after, but
yeah, they've got another 2 years after the date, and hopefully the MSA will extend it another year with what's been going on.
Due to the fact that we've had a global pandemic and everybody's not used their car for at least a year now, they might give some leeway into extending the deadlines by a year, hopefully.
I'm trying!